Alright, first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Harakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of great men, so that surely do well. Peace and blessings goes out to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of this world, that pushes gospel and all sincerity and without diligence is the God of Matanai here once again, from one of the great millstone camps in Trinidad, to come into the spirit to exhort, to edify, and to prophesy the downfall of this place, and also to give warning for you that may not know, the things that gonna come to pass soon. And this lesson here is gonna be based on, the video, the clip in here, where it would have basically a rebellion against, the government, which over the past 3 to 4 months, we've been seeing a lot of these things happen, a lot of revolts taking place. The last known one, I believe, was in Nepal, where they said Gen Z revolted against or kick up against the government because of the inequality in wealth, wealth inequality. And you would have revolts for several different reasons across different countries. It may not be the same thing, but the main point is that the people rising up against their rulers because they realizing that the rulers, you basically taking them for fool. They corrupt and they're unjust in the laws and the way of living and the way the system that they set up to govern the people. But I'm just gonna play this video here. Is based on this particular one, where it says the Mexican anti-cartel rebellion has reached Claudia Sheinbaum's or Sheinbaum's presidential palace in Mexico City, and you'll see how chaotic these revolts could be. And it reaches down to this when it have nothing else to do. This is basically like the breaking point for you to, offer Jake to, to go up and fight against the police or the soldiers or whoever it may be in the streets, and not fear death, not fear the consequences, because it basically have nothing else to do. It's total hardship. But this is I'll play the video here. Get it! And and just where Soria is exactly where you're gonna get if you decide to defend or protect Esau's unjust system. And that is who you would that is who we would refer to as what? The house ninjas. They're that in love with Esau, that they're so in love with Esau that they can't see the hypocrisy and the deceitfulness and the double standards that they be protecting. See, they just do it for the money, and that is what the scripture said. But this here in particular, this here is prophecy, and it's prophecy. In the scripture, it was said that these things are gonna happen in the end. I'm gonna read that. I have it here already. Second is just 9. And verse 1 it says, "And he answered me then, and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the earth, which the world which he made." Meaning that when you see these signs come to pass, when you see it happen and taking place like we are seeing it now, that is when the Lord is going to have begun to visit this world with judgment and with plagues and pestilence. And that is when he's about to make his return. It says, "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning." And when you look up, I got that in the Google. When you look up uproar, look up the word uproar. Yo. Because it says you're gonna see uproars of the people. When you look up the term uproar, it says no. Anyhow, I could just right to open up. It says a loud and impassioned noise or disturbance, meaning turmoil. As you would see any synonyms: turmoil, disorder, confusion. And then it would have the other meaning is a public expression of protest or outrage, outcry, furor, outrage. So it's a public expression of protest, but these protests here are violent protests where blood is spilled, people are damaged, in some cases they cause government officials to flee and abandon office, some even to resign. So it's more than an uproar, it's more than a public expression of protest. I mean, this is a violent public expression of protest, because it could be peaceful, but then uproar is more than just the peaceful protest with the placard, not the placard, not the billboards, the cardboards and stuff, and they're walking around in a circle and they're protesting, "We want your money right now," and not that what the scripture is speaking about. Furthermore, in Luke, in Luke 21 and verse 8, it says, "And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, or I am the Messiah, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them, but when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet by and by." Now when you're reading the NLT, here where it said instead of commotions, "And when you hear of wars and insurrections, don't panic. Yes, these things must take place first, but the end won't follow immediately." But let's look up that word insurrections as well. It says a violent uprising against an authority or government. In other words, a rebellion, a revolt, an uprising. It comes from the word insurgere or insurge, which means to rise up. So the people on they would have been, taking the bullshit for a while, for years, taking the unjust dealings, taking the corruption, taking the oppression, the exploitation, the bullying, and then eventually gonna become so hard that they say, well, I'm taking it, I'm doing whatever they say, and I still am able to eat. Now we reach the point where They can't even afford the basic food items like what happened in in Venezuela that caused a mass exodus of immigrants. And even in, I believe it was Argentina not too long ago. And then the people would do, they would rise up because they have nothing else to do. You know, you can't lay down and take it anymore. So they would rise up, and that is what insurrection is. A violent uprising against an authority or government. So this year perfectly, this year perfectly lines up with the scriptures. This is a violent uprising, and the Lord said, when you shall see these things, but when you shall hear wars and insurrections, don't panic. So the Lord's men aren't gonna panic, but it is a sign, as the scriptures say in 2 Ezra 9. It is a sign that the Lord visiting this place. It says, verse 5, for like as all that is made in the world had a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, meaning the end is visual. It's gonna be made plain, it's gonna be evident, it's gonna be shown. Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings in effects and signs. And those are the signs. Those are the signs. It speaks about earthquakes and uproars. It says, verse 10, Luke 21:10, it says, then he said unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences and fearful sights and great signs shall be there from heaven. So all those are part of the signs. And this here also is a sign that rebellion is second as just 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction dread nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. And this is like a small number of people are rebelling against the government, but it's gonna reach to the point where it's gonna be everybody. Well, not literally everybody, but the majority of the population revolting against the government. And if they're occupying the presence and the time and the resources of the defensive services, or the protective services, I should say, who gonna be able to defend you that rely on the police for protection, that rely on the government for protection? Who gonna protect you, especially you women? So eventually, you're gonna descend into that state of chaos that they're not just gonna revolt against the government, but they're gonna also start to invade one another. They're gonna also start to distress their own neighbors. So all these things coming, all these things are on the horizon. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power, because they're not gonna have anybody to control them, to stop them. You could stop a hungry man. If you're dying already from hunger, who do you you think the fear of a bullet going through your head could stop a man from doing what he had to do? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So even your friends, who you think you may have been buddy with, if he has no food, and he know that you have food and he's starving, what do you think he gonna do? Because both of you all could before he gonna just stay there and starve? No, hell no. He gonna attack you and take whatever you have. And it's all in the scriptures. Everything that is everything that's taking place today is all in the scriptures. So when people say that the Bible is a fairy tale, and most of it just blinded their eyes, or they just want to be plain stupid and ignorant. But with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Basham Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of agreements from that surely do well. Until next time, I see you in Shalom.